right? I think
Right.
that it's important for us to ask about, I mean, I know that folks in the community have been asking a lot about Fatal 14.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's still not a lot of answers to. I
Right.
think that it's also important to ask about their policies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we mentioned the automated license plate readers. There's not a lot of answers there. I think that there should be asks about putting all of their policies on their website.
Okay.
And we might as well just ask him, would you support a surveillance ordinance, a transparency ordinance?
A surveillance ordinance.
Right, a transparency ordinance that would streamline this process, right? Like that would, because if Shawnee Williams really did care about promoting transparency, and I mean, the Stingray went through this process,
right?
And they're still using it, you know, then there shouldn't be any opposition to it, right?
Exactly.
So I would bring that up. And otherwise, yeah, I think it's just a good opportunity for us to listen and see what they're willing to tell us.
Right, that's how I feel about it, because a lot of people are like, oh, they're full of shit and all this and this and that. But I want to have the opportunity to go in there and come out with, you know, a lot of the people that tell me don't do it, they actually had the opportunity to go and talk to them and come out of that meeting saying, oh, they're full of shit, that's bullshit, whatever. I want to have the opportunity to, you know, because like I told you, I'm fairly new. And then the way that this meeting, I believe, came about is because of the oversight committee thing that they were talking about. Yeah. They have a organization called Common Ground, which is a church-based organization, and they're not even from Vallejo, I don't think. And a lot of the public and stuff has been thrown out there, like, you guys need to have FAM and, you know, different people involved. I got people writing them letters and everything else. So it's to the point now where they're hearing about FAM from everybody else except for FAM. You know what I mean? So I just want to take the opportunity to be able to say, hey, look, this is who we are. This is who I am. You know, you could get a feel for who I am, because I am not on no bullshit. I'm not going in there to be nobody's friend or nothing like that. I'm gonna be who I am. You know what I mean? So I just feel like it's necessary, like you said, just to see what I can get, you know, out of it. I'm trying to be more effective and get some actual actions going on.
Right. And, you know, it's funny because it is hard to get answers.
Right.
Oftentimes at the ACLU, we have to submit these Public Record Act requests, forcing them, it's a court order, forcing them to turn over their records. But even then, they can delay the process. Like they're supposed to give it to us within 10 days, but nobody ever does that. They're always like, we need more time. They extended. So I'm like, well, if we have an opportunity to actually sit down with them, there's some police chiefs who won't even sit down with us.
Yeah.
And we're like, you know, and it's like, we know people are hiding shit, but when you admit that you're hiding shit.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry, I don't know if
you're all right. This is,
okay.
Hey, you probably started because you heard me say something.
Okay. So yeah, if they are willing to sit down with you, then if we can get the answers directly from the horse's mouth, like that's a big opportunity for us.
Right. That's how I feel about it myself. Like, to be honest, I don't think a whole lot is going to come out of it, but I don't know. For me, I feel like it's a step that's necessary for me to be able to, you know, move ahead. Like, that's just one of the things I think I feel like I need to do. I'm a very intuitive person, so I like to actually talk to people for myself so I could get my own understanding and make my own judgment just based, instead of just going off what everybody else is saying. So that's just the kind of person I am, and that's you know what it is. But we at FAM feel so honored and just privileged to have the people like you and the ACLU to have our back out here in this fight. You guys' name been coming up all the time in all those city council meetings when I'm listening. That's all they worried about is what the ACLU have to say. And I don't know.
Don't want to get sued
right,
again.
they don't want to get sued. And I have actually been trying to work on a meeting with us with McConnell, but I don't know. I think he might have got a little, know what it's about. So if I could ask you real quick, what would the meeting be? What would we need to talk to McConnell about, or what would the topic of that meeting be, in case he's a little scared?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I would think it would be really great. I would be very excited to meet with him. There's so much work that needs to happen. And I think that it would be a really great opportunity for us to figure out how we can work together, not only around giving some more information about this ordinance and why it's really good for everybody in the community. But I also have been learning a lot about Vallejo city politics. And for example, I found out that Vallejo City Council, their annual salary is $14,700, whereas a police officer on the very first day with no training can start working with a salary of $87,000. And so 87, yeah. And it's like, but most of them actually make six figures.
And they're the one, and they're complaining about being underpaid.
Right, and it's like, when you have that discrepancy, for me, that budget shows who is really in control of the government in Vallejo. And
it only you said you only been like kind of involved with the Vallejo scene for a month and a half.
Yeah.
And you put all that together that fast.
Yes, and I'm like, wow, can y'all unionize? I'm like, can city council members unionize? That is ridiculous. Like, they got to be working all these, because I was wondering why it was so hard to meet. And yeah, then folks were telling me, well, they got to work 2 and 3 jobs because they really aren't making enough to be city council members. And I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense. Like,
yeah, that's
not
totally
only are
backwards.
the people, yeah, like not only are the people not empowered, but city council is also not empowered. Right. So then who has the power? And I think
find out.
Yeah, I think it's the police, the police union, and I think it's the city the city manager.
Exactly, and that's where everything keeps going back to is the city manager, who is Greg Nyoff or whatever. But that's who it keeps going back to. So I'm thinking like we got to start getting more on him. Like that seemed like he's the only one that could actually have some authority to kind of shake some things up between him and what about the city attorney?
Yes, yeah. The city attorney is very interesting. The city attorney's office, I'll say, worked with us.
Okay.
On the Stingray. I mean, they did eventually accept all of our recommendations, but they were very reluctant. They pushed back on some of these things that were just goofy.
Right.
Like one of the things provisions we wanted written in, right, was we believe that you should never use the Stingray at a protest or at a place
religion.
Of worship.
Right.
You were mentioning that, right? This popped up in the middle of Black Lives Matter uprisings, and we know that it's often used in that way. We also know it's often been used to spy on Muslims at mosques.
Right.
Or to protect their First Amendments, we should just prohibit that.
Right, and let me just to get it. Let me make sure I'm clear on this, because Shawnee Williams did mention that they wouldn't. I don't know if he said that they straight up just won't share that information with people like ICE, or if he said that it's more than likely they won't need to share the information with ICE because people like ICE already have their own. Basically, they already have their own Stingray, so why would they need to? So is that a part of the policy that you guys wrote up, that they cannot exchange information with immigration people like ICE and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's definitely something we also wanted to add. And yes, Shawnee said the second part. He was like, well, they have their own Stingray, like they don't need ours. We don't want to work with them. But what gets tricky is, again, there's these third-party vendors who oftentimes will also have access to the data, and they're going to give it to whoever's going to give them money. And so, yeah, that's why we have to look like really deep into these policies and say, okay, well, even if you don't share it directly with ICE, we want to make sure that it's written in your policy that the vendor can't share your information with ICE as well.
Well, thanks for people like y'all, man, because I wouldn't even thought of that. That's like a easy thing to kind of think of, but I didn't even think of it from that part. Like, man, the people like, at the third party, they still got all the same data.
Yeah, it's like 3 to 4 different steps, and yeah, like it's tricky, right? It's intentionally meant to trick people. But it was interesting because the city attorney's office, right, when we were talking with them about the First Amendment policy, and we're like, don't use it against protesters, don't use it at religious places of worship. They're like, well, what if there was a bomb threat? And I'm like, okay, but when in the history of ever has this happened?
Right.
Like, you can't make policy, especially something that could violate people's constitutional rights, based on nothing.
Right. And this is something else that's crazy that I found out. I think it's the city contract. Like they can't even find it.
Which one?
I don't know. One of the city contracts, one of the main contracts, and I ain't gonna say who I talked to about it, but yeah, I have to look more into it. But there's a important contract. I think it's something that got to do with the city, and the public and everybody else supposed to have access to this contract, and they don't even know where it's at. So it's just all kinds of little crazy stuff. And then they talk about they're trying to build this new police station off of the well, actually it's already a building over there. They just want to spend this money to upgrade it and make it so that they can facilitate whatever they need to do. And their police department is fucked up, but my thing is, okay, because they say stuff like, all right, because our department is so messed up, people morale was messed up, and like they even use that as an excuse for the police to be out there doing what they're doing. And I'm like, well, how do you think we feel? Because our schools is all tore up, you know, they barely standing. We don't have nothing. Like we go. So how do you think we feel? You know, why do you think the people are? You know what I'm saying? So how do you feel about the defunding the police and stuff? Do you think like that's a good way to go about it as far as like preventing crime and stuff?
Well, I think that I really want to lift up something that you brought up earlier to say that the technological infrastructure that we build in this moment matters.
Right. Thank you.
And what we really need is an infrastructure of care, not of harmful surveillance.
Right.
Right. We need to invest in social safety nets. We need to invest in schools. We need to invest in people and services and treatment, not spending $750,000 on devices, on surveillance technology that further traumatizes, monitors, and tracks people.
Yeah, because besides the police killing people right now, we on course to break a record in Vallejo for homicides in a year. It's like people are getting killed every other day out here right now. I'm talking about I know a over 70-year-old guy in my neighborhood, don't bother nobody, got his head blown off just sitting in his car. There's been another young guy, he got killed with his baby mom and his son. They all got killed together. Wow. So it's like, okay, we got problems all over the board, and you guys is buying these devices to do what? Because my belief is that police aren't going to prevent crime anyways. Like their job is to respond to a crime after it has happened. So I just don't get. And then another thing is, if all these, are they getting these funds to pay for this stuff? If we're so broke and underfunded, how do you guys keep on coming up with the money to buy this stuff? So they don't have to get no kind of they don't have to get nothing approved or anything before they just say, okay, we're just going to go buy this or buy that. How does that work?
Yeah. That's a really good question. Part of it comes from city funding, like you're saying, but part of it also comes from the federal government. And the way that it works is that the Department of Homeland Security started investing just millions of dollars. I mentioned after 9/11, it started investing millions of dollars in terrorism prevention, is what they call it. And they created a law enforcement initiative that's actually in the Bay called Urban Areas Security Initiative.
Urban Area Security
Initiative. UASI.
Okay.
And what they do is they make it so that law enforcement can apply for these grants, and then the grants provide local law enforcement with funding to, like they say, it's to like protect and prevent, respond to terrorism in the community. But the result really is that local law enforcement is able to buy high-grade military and surveillance equipment.
Right, that's what that is, like military grade equipment.
Yeah, and it's at much less or little cost to the city, but obviously high cost to the community with our lives.
So they're actually figuring out ways to get grants to pay for some of this stuff.
Yes.
Wow.
And so like it's wild because I really don't think any of the city budget should be going to buying any of this. But unfortunately, even if it didn't, there's still this whole other level of how law enforcement militarizes local police.
Right. And these police out here, they already think they the biggest gang. Like they just, one of them we was just talking about, he got even starting, he got a rap album out talking about his police celebrity in the streets and all that. He's actually rapping about it like I don't know, that's how weird it is out here.
That's so messy. Oh, no.
He actually gave me a CD because he used to harass us when we was little all the time. And as I got a little bit older, he got a little more respect for me because he knew I wasn't just one of the dumb kids, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he actually gave me a CD one time, like, oh yeah, I'm in the studio, because he knew I did music. So he's like, what are you recording on this and that? So I'm just like, huh. So he gave me the CD. Of course, when he left, I smashed it to the ground right away. And so the next time I seen him, I had some music. And at this time I was on like some activism stuff, and I actually named his name and something. So I gave him a CD with the song, right? As soon as I gave it to him, he put it straight into the deck in the police car, right? I was all right, I'll see you later. I hurried up and got out of there.
Yeah, you're like, okay, bye.
I haven't seen or heard from him since.
That's funny, that's bold.
Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff we dealing with out here. And so under-resourced, there's nothing out here. The only thing that you can make some money at or get a good job out here is at the police department or at Kaiser. Or at the refinery somewhere where you got to dang near worry about getting blown up, or the refinery place catching fire like it does too often. So people was driving all over San Francisco, here, there. It's a rat race. So you're out. I used to do it for like about 3 years driving to San Francisco. So I know when you're doing that kind of stuff, it's like you don't really care about nothing else. All you're worried about is just making sure that you can take care of your living expenses and keep a roof over your head. So people don't pay attention to the city council. They don't pay attention to the little policies that's getting slipped under the cracks and stuff like that. And then, we just wake up one day and all of this stuff is happening. So we try to do the best we can to take a stand up and be a voice for the people. So so we very happy to have you guys here and stuff. And before I let you go, is there anything that you would like to, or any advice or anything that you would like to say to local organizers or anybody that's out here trying to get involved and put some work in? What kind of advice or what would you tell of somebody trying to get started?
That's a good question. I think that the advice that I would give, right, is really, first of all, figure out what do you love to do, and how can you use that to further the movement or to further the cause, right? I am a community organizer, and I honestly believe this is what I was meant to do in life. I love talking with people. I love figuring out ways. I like facilitating conversations, bringing people together, trying to figure out with all these different dynamics how we can work together. Like, I live in a 10-person co-op. Like, this is my life, you know? And I think that everybody in the world has a role to play. I think it always can look different and it'll always look unique. But, you know, we need people who, are graphic designers. We need people who are organizers, people who are in media, right, doing podcasts. We need people who are artists. We need folks, of course, now who are public health workers and folks who love to debate and love to, we need data scientists and people who know how to read these policies, right? And so there is a role for everybody. And I think that sometimes people think there's one way to be a leader, and that is not true.
Right. And I think you hit on something that's real important too. Mm-hmm. Because some people feel like, okay, I don't have no money or nothing, so I can't, help, I can't donate. Sometimes it's not about the donation of the money. Donate some time. You know what I mean? If you, like you said, if you got a certain skill, you a good graphic designer or something, come donate some of that time and just, train us up and show us how to do some of this stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah, everybody has a role. Everybody's role might be a little different, but if everybody just do their part, and I think that's our best chance at getting somewhere too. So I think I'm on the right track. I ask you stuff like that because it'd be for my own little personal notes, but
yeah, of course. And I would just say, and if you need help, if anyone needs help figuring out what their role is, you should call me or email me and we'll figure it out together.
There you go, right there. I'm gonna be taking you up on that.
Absolutely. Like, I really want to connect with fam more, especially because I know y'all do a lot of work with young people, and young people are the future. Young people are everything.
That's where it's gonna get real. That's what I'm trying to do now with fam kids. I'm trying to get them prepared. Mm-hmm. They already got like a 30-year head start on me, because I'm gonna teach them everything that I know. Public speaking, organizing, how to make a flyer, how to plan the event. How to, everything that I do, I'm going to just give it to them. And hopefully by the time they get to that age where they can take it on, they'll be that much more ahead and that much more experienced and knowledgeable than we were. So I'm really dependent on our kids to take it to the next level. So I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah, and they're smart. Like, already there are kids who are like teenagers, young adults, who just like their analysis too. It was way ahead from when I was that age, Right.
Oof. All right. So before we get out of here, if somebody want to call you or get a hold of you, want some advice or questions, let us know how they could get a hold of you and all that good stuff.
Sure. So you should definitely send me an email, and that's RORTEGA. That's RORTEGA @aclunc.org. That stands for American Civil Liberties Union, Northern California.org.
And say your last name one more time. I'm sorry.
Ortega. It's like the tacos and the salsa.
I know, but I always say it so English. I'll be like Ortega. And then when I hear you say it sounds so much better. I'm like, oh man, same thing with Sean Monterosa, and then I'm like, Sean Monterosa, and they get up there like,
Monterosa.
I'm like, man, why I can't say it like that, man?
Yeah, it's all good, because you know what? It's like, unless you grew up like rolling your R's or kind of, practicing that, I recognize it's real hard to learn. But I just always tell people, Raquel is fine, but just never Rachel, okay?
You know what? I almost made that mistake one time. I sent you a thing and I put Rachel, but I sent it to the wrong person. I was like, man, that's Raquel. I'm glad I didn't send that.
But yeah, I was also gonna say y'all can call me too. My My number's 415-293-6362. That's my work line. So you can call me anytime. And it forwards to my cell phone. So
She put the number out there too, but y'all got to use the number for business, for work. Don't be calling Raquel trying to see if she's single and what she got planned for the weekend and none of that. We out here about this work. So
that's right. I am on social media though too. Like I mentioned, like I love connecting with community, and like it's been so great getting to know folks in Vallejo. So I'm just real excited and looking forward to creating change with y'all.
Oh, it's all good.
It's time.
You fam now. So
Yes.
you one of ours, man. So you most
Yes.
definitely, we gonna keep you in the loop. More than glad. I'm trying to build us a good team, man. So
Yes.
I think that if we could get a good solid team going, and we gonna make some things happen. So thank you for making some time to come and sit down with us. We'll definitely be talking some more. And anything you need or whatever you need support from, or questions or whatever, you free. You got my line, emails, all that. Hit me up anytime.
Same to you. We got your back. Anything comes up, I'm your first call. Call the lawyers. We'll be there.
Say less. All right, Raquel. And I know you got some meetings and stuff coming up, so I'm gonna let you get you something to eat or get you a little break before you go start dealing with that one.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. Thanks again. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
All righty. Bye.